KMJ's Sunday Conversation with your host, Alexan Balakian.
Sponsored by GAR. At GAR, we help growers feed the world.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome into an all-new Sunday Conversation exclusively here on KMJ. I'm Alexan Balakian. I want to give a big shout-out to my sponsors, GAR. Grow with GAR, the growing experts, and by the Pressbox Sports Grill. And don't forget, we podcast where you podcast. Sunday Conversation on demand because we are in demand. And you can watch the entire show right there on YouTube at KMJ Sunday Conversation. It's all free. My favorite word. My favorite F word. Free. All right. Now that the table is set, let's get to the main course. And it's recess time. Many congressional members have retreated back to their respective districts, but D.C. buzzing right now, huh? Russia, Ukraine, peace negotiations, Armenia, Azerbaijan, peace treaty remains sketchy at best. But there's this little hiccup here in California that could derail a few Republican congressional seats. Governor Newsom's redistricting scheme, and all eyes will be on one major seat that has been the most polarizing and most lucrative race over the last 3 election cycles. That's Congressional District 22. The seat is owned by David Valadao, who some might think he's a political juggernaut, foiling the political experts by winning 7 of the last 8 races in a district where Democrats enjoy an almost 12-point registration edge. How's he do it? So once again, Congressman Valadao will be on that battle chair in 2026. So I wonder if you think you know who my guest is. Well, there he is, sitting right across from me, Congressman David Valadao. Welcome to Sunday Conversation. How are you?
Not bad. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing good. So, there's a lot to discuss, but let's start with these new scribbly lines. You saw it just come out. It's like something, our kids would probably work on during their time at Cracker Barrel while they're eating their mac and cheese. What do you make of this whole scribble the new lines redistricting scheme?
I mean, it's exactly what you imagine it would be. It's a scam. It's something that the state legislature shouldn't be doing. We passed a independent voting initiative a number of years ago, and we've got a situation now where the governor, in his quest to be president, is literally trying to take the power away from voters and constituents and allowing politicians to draw themselves new districts.
I'm wondering if it wasn't for Texas and kind of President Trump kind of lighting that match a little bit, do you think Governor Newsom even thinks about this?
I mean, if it wasn't that, Newsom would be doing something else to get a little more attention on himself.
So how I know voters are going to have to do something in November, so now they're going to spend taxpayer money.
$250 million to put it on the ballot November 4th and allow voters the opportunity to basically vote. Governor Newsom hopes that they will vote to take power away from themselves and give it to a bunch of politicians to draw themselves new districts. And
where could a $250 million gone to, I wonder?
There's a lot of things you can spend $250 million on that would be a better use of taxpayer dollars.
Anyway, the Republican Party or signatures or anything like that can stop all this?
No
court, no nothing.
No. There's a court process, I assume, and I know there's some folks that are looking into that. But as of right now, the process is Governor Newsom calls a special session, gets the legislature to vote 2/3, and then puts it on the ballot, special election, this November of this year. And if it passes, there are new districts. If it doesn't pass, obviously, he just blew $250 million and got absolutely nothing to show for it.
All right, so obviously your district is one that is highly impacted. Where does I looked at the map, and honestly, nobody, unless you drew the map, really understands what's going on there. As you look at the new scribble line that's on there, are you more in Fresno County? Is that what it is?
I have 0 of Fresno County today.
Yeah.
So when we drew new lines in 2022, they carved up and took all of Fresno away from me. So this would put me back into Fresno County. I'd still continue to have Kings, Tulare, and Kern counties.
So you'd have one of the biggest districts in the state of California.
I think number 1 up at the top would probably be the biggest, just because they go all the way from almost the Golden Gate to the Oregon border and all the way to the Nevada border as well.
But when you talk about sheer population,
pretty equal all across.
How many voters does that add, you think, to your district?
Well, it'll be 760,000 constituents.
Mm-hmm.
The number of voters, I haven't seen that number. I know it's there, and I know I've seen the documentation on it, but I didn't look at the actual number of voters. And we usually have a pretty low voter turnout in the districts I run in, just the way it is. But all districts are the same exact size, or supposed to be.
Do you just like throw your arms up and say, oh, geez?
Well, it is frustrating because at the end of the day, my job is to represent my district to the best of my ability.
Mm-hmm.
And the political games that are played on a regular basis, especially out of Sacramento, are really disappointing because they should be focused on actually solving problems. But instead, they're focused on bringing more attention to themselves and potentially run for president.
And I want to make it official here. You're going to be running in 2026.
I am.
I mean, I know all the paperwork's already filed, but I like to hear it from you personally.
I mean, there's still paperwork to be filed.
Yeah.
But obviously, we are moving forward. We are running, and that process is actively moving.
So there is some paperwork that's been done by a certain assemblywoman in Kern County, Jasmeet Baines. So she's entered this congressional race with you, a family doctor. And it's clear, at least in my eyes, that the Democratic Party really feels Rudy Salas. There was no match for you.
I mean, I've had a lot of opponents over the years, and I don't want to criticize any of them. I mean, they all have their strengths and their weaknesses. I've got, I think, as of right now, technically 3 Democratic opponents. Yeah. I've got one in Visalia. I've got the Assemblywoman, and then I've got Rudy, who is technically still in the race, but there would have to be more paperwork.
So how much are you really looking at Jasmeet Baines rather than Rudy Salas here? Are you focusing more on that right now?
I'm not focused on any of the political side right now. I mean, my goal right now is just do my job. I know 2 years is a short amount of time, but my focus this year is mostly just continuing to focus on what I need to do in the district and in Washington.
So obviously one of the big signatures that you put down was what they call the Big Beautiful Bill. That's what President Trump called it. You voted in favor of it. How many revisions did it take?
I mean, it took quite a bit of changes over those few months. I mean, obviously there was a lot of dialogue out there, and even some of the rhetoric out there is based off of stuff that was never actually policy that became law.
Now, if you had your utopia bill, right, what would there still be something you would like to alter inside of that bill? Was there something that you looked at and said, you know what, I'm going to have to let this go because we got to get this done for the bigger portion of the bill? But is there something that you would want to still alter?
I mean, the healthcare part is complicated, and there's a lot of policy in there that I think is being skewed in the public eye. So I'm sure there's things in there I'd like to clarify or at least clean up. But one thing that I was really frustrated with is we had put $2.5 billion in there for Western Water when it left the House, and then a senator from Utah decided that was too much, and he cut it down to $1 billion, which $1 billion is still more than we've ever done in history for Western Water. So it's a huge win for us, but it's not what I had originally put in the bill. So I'm still frustrated, a little bothered by that one.
You know, you talked a little bit about the health care portion of that thing. You know, experts say it could strip health insurance from millions of low-income Californians, nearly 290,000 residents, maybe even in your own district there. The California Budget Policy Center is the one, I guess, kind of touting that, if you will. And then there was Jasmeet Baines, and she came out in Cal Matters and said, quote, "The vote was really a betrayal. I did not envision ever running for Congress, but this is a matter of a doctor upholding a Hippocratic oath that I took to protect patients." Clarify for me exactly, because I think you're right. There's ambiguity a little bit here.
So you've got a lot of folks saying this could do all these things. The reality is the only people this really impacts directly are people who are able-bodied, no dependents, have the ability to go to work. And so the state of California, the governor, the state legislature, the people who run the state are going to be in charge of implementing the thing that's going to affect people the most, which is what we call community engagement requirements. Some people call it work requirements. That is going to be, that's what they're leaning on as the reason why all these people are going to lose their coverage. People who have the ability to go to work, who have no children, no one to take care of, and no excuses not to at least make an effort to be a productive citizen. This requires that they put in 20 hours a week of either work, volunteer in their community, or go to school. And if you're not willing to do one of those 3 things, potentially this will have an impact on you. Now, people that the program was originally created for, this does not touch their benefits. No one that is disabled, no one that is a child, no one that is a senior. I mean, this is what the program was created for. This doesn't touch any of them. They keep saying this could affect all these different people. But again, it's only impacting directly the people who have the ability to actually be someone productive in our community. And I think that's something we should ask them to do. That's not an unreasonable request. If you've got no children at home, you've got no one with disabilities at home to take care of, you should be able to help out. And even volunteering in your community qualifies those 20 hours. This isn't that hard. And then at the end of it, all the counties that I touch don't even really qualify for those requirements because we have such high unemployment numbers.
Are you telling me, and I want to be clear about this because this is serious, are you telling me laziness is not a disability?
Yeah.
And I know I'm joking here a little bit, and I say that with a straight face, but isn't that what our society has almost been dumbed down to?
Yes, and that's the issue that we're dealing with here. You drive around the Central Valley, and you see people working in 110-degree weather out in the sun, working their butts off, trying to make ends meet, trying to feed their families, and you're trying to make it sound like someone who does have the ability to put in their fair share, to make an honest effort to take care of themselves and take care of their neighbors, and it's not that hard to do. 20 hours a week of something as simple as, go to school, volunteer. Obviously, we would prefer you get a job. And if the job opportunities aren't there, obviously the unemployment numbers are high. This isn't going to affect us anyways on that front. But it is something that I think is a good, reasonable, good governance. People shouldn't just be able to take advantage of the system. The system was created, and that's how you protect these benefits that are so important to our communities, is by not allowing people to take advantage of it. And the other side is on the SNAP side. We're asking the state, who has been continuously having a over 10% error rate on who gets SNAP benefits, that the state also get their numbers in line. If the state wants to get down to a 0% cost share, get your numbers in line and make sure that you're only providing benefits to those who are supposed to be on the program. If you're fraudulently giving money out or benefits out to people who aren't on the program, well, then you got to have a cost share, and the state has to take responsibility for their poor management. And those aren't unreasonable requests. Good governments, people work hard for their taxpayer monies. They want the government to be efficient and make sure that we're also make sure those dollars are spent the way they're supposed to be. Exclamation point.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. Congressman Valadao is with me here on Sunday Conversation. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on the other side of the pond, Armenia, Azerbaijan, this whole crazy Ukraine-Russia deal. I guess Vladimir Putin wanted to give President Trump some fancy motorbike. There's all kinds of stuff coming out in the media. We'll talk about it coming up. KMJ, Sunday Conversation. Welcome back to KMJ Sunday Conversation. With me, my guest, Congressman David Valadao, on a bit of a recess, but he's always gallivanting around the district. So where are you headed off to during your district time? What's going on?
I've been all over.
All over, huh?
Yeah. A lot of Kern County, a lot of Tulare County, a lot of Kings County. Obviously, the 3 counties I represent, trying to hit each county a day. And today I'm actually a little bit north. I spent some time in Fresno, but mainly because there's some hospitals up here that serve my communities.
Mm-hmm. Here, I thought you were just visiting me. All right, let's talk to some of the stuff that's going on across the pond. I want to start just, me being me, Armenian. Armenia and Azerbaijan, and you're on the Armenian caucus. You're a high-ranking member of the Armenian Assembly in Washington. When you first saw this, and we talked a little bit about this last week, and I said I used the word awkward. It was an awkward moment as an Armenian to see the Prime Minister of Armenia, Nikol Pashinyan, shaking hands with a murderer, a genocidal maniac, in the president of Azerbaijan, and there's Trump with his hand over their hand. What were you thinking?
And this is a frustrating situation because I know that our president here in the United States obviously wants to help create some more peace in the world. And the situation there in Armenia and Azerbaijan has been pretty bad for a number of years and for a number of decades now, really. And I think you're correct, especially what's happened in Baku and over the years. Genocide is not too strong of a word to be using in that situation. I have heard from some Armenians there, even some of the representatives from the Armenian government who I've met with recently, that they do want to see some peace there, and they want to have these conversations. But I imagine for for a lot of folks, this has to be one of the more painful things, because to see someone who has been behind so much hurt and so much pain for so long in that type of situation where they're being put on a stage has to be a really tough pill to swallow. And I can't imagine what it must be like for the people that lived in Nagorno-Karabakh and have fled, the POWs who are still not being spoken up for, how hard this must be at this time.
Yeah, and really there's no punctuation mark or even full-fledged signatures on this peace deal. Is that correct?
There's not that I've seen. I mean, obviously there's a conversation out there, and I don't even know if it's a real peace deal yet. I think they're just still a little bit of information coming out. There's some documentation to look for, but some of the most important parts, like I said, the POW situation is not even mentioned, and we know there's at least, 23, 24, maybe more. They're not even able to go. We can't even send the Red Cross in to see how these people are doing, how they're being treated.
So was this fiasco? I called it a little kabuki theater, I'm going to be honest with you. Was it premature?
Maybe. Again, I know, speaking to people in Armenia, there are people who desperately want to see the end of war and want to move on to a peaceful existence, but we just need to make sure that whatever agreement they make is something that actually leads to peace and some understanding of the situation there.
You know, there's been so much talk about aid going to that region following the genocide that's never really ended since 1915, if you talk about it. You know, and it's even hard for Trump to even say the word genocide. He's never really formally recognized it. And even though that Biden did, his actions never coincided with the word. So I'm a little confused. There's still no mention of Artsakh and whose land that belongs to. Are the Armenians supposed to just hand it over?
That's what it sounds like they're trying to negotiate right now. It sounds like they're going that direction. And the other part that you kind of alluded to is the waivers to allow aid to go into Azerbaijan, potentially military aid, is something that is deeply concerning for a lot of us. So
as the Armenian Assembly, what can be done? What's the next step for the assembly itself?
Well, for the Armenian caucus is what we call it. It's us obviously communicating with the administration in different ways. I mean, there's stuff that we can do publicly, but a lot of it is done privately in our conversation with the State Department and others to advocate, to say, hey, understand this is a situation that we are all watching carefully and we take very seriously, and hopefully they'll at least listen to our concerns and hopefully address them.
I'll kind of finish this little conversation about Armenia and Azerbaijan because there was this another weird moment where even Nicole Pashinyan was saying, I would nominate Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. Do you agree with that?
Not on this situation, no.
Yeah, I found that to be awkward as well. Let's get into Russia, Ukraine a little bit. There were Vladimir Putin and President Trump. There was a red carpet. There was this big platform, the Alaska Talks or Alaska Summit, whatever you want to call it. And everybody says that, at least the news cycle says, Vladimir Putin won the day. This was his moment to shine. He got the best of Trump. Is that the way you saw it?
No, I didn't. Obviously, none of us trust Putin. And Putin is an evil person. And he is who started this war. What is going on there, the millions of lives that have been lost, or hundreds of thousands of lives that have been lost, are because of him and what he started. We have to have some sort of dialogue to end this. And the fact that Trump brought him to the U.S., I would not think it'd be a good idea for our president to ever step foot in Russia. I've never stepped foot in Russia, and I have no intention of stepping foot there.
You have no idea what poisonous air material is floating over you.
Yeah, but it's a serious conversation that needs to be had. And I know President Trump was pretty strong in his position of not being supportive of Ukraine, and he's slowly come, in my opinion, to the right side of this. And I'm happy to see that. And if some of these conversations have to happen, but I don't think Putin's going to hold to his word. I think Putin is continuing to be who he is, a dishonest person who murders people. And at some point, I think the rest of the American people who are on the fence on this are going to see what we're dealing with and continue to support the president in this direction and want to support Ukraine in their defense of their freedoms and their country.
Is the relationship, or at least the perceived relationship between Trump and Putin, does it seem too chummy to you?
Yeah, I don't know if it really is or if it's just an act they're putting up. I don't know how much time they actually spend with one another or communicating with one another. I mean, obviously the language barrier makes it even more complicated. Working through translators, if you've ever done that, is not an easy thing to do. Mm-hmm. But I imagine that just the way the president is and the way he speaks about things, he always likes to talk about being close with people. But I hope it's not as close as it's perceived.
Right. So there's this kind of talk of Ukraine may have to give up a chunk of their land, but they would get some NATO protections, NATO-type protections. Are you in line with the fact that maybe if you give up a chunk of land to Russia, that the rest of Ukraine is a NATO member?
I'm fine with Ukraine joining NATO. I'm not okay with rewarding bad behavior. Russia attacked Ukraine, and if we reward them by giving them territory, you're rewarding bad behavior. So I'm opposed to the idea of giving up any land.
So how do you get Russia out of this war? I know.
And I'm not in the middle of negotiations.
Right.
That's just me as one person who happens to serve in Congress. How do we get Russia to stop? Is by continuing to provide support to the Ukrainians. I don't like the idea of us putting our own soldiers, but what was mentioned today, air support, even if it's intel, anything on that front that doesn't put any of our soldiers' lives in risk or in danger, I don't have a problem with. If it's selling them weapons, especially the weapons we've been selling, a lot of them are weapons that we sell some of our older inventories and replace them with newer things. Those are all things that actually help us and also provide them with a lot of resources. But those are the types of things I'm okay with, and I think Ukraine can be very successful with very simple support like that.
But actual physical more money. I can't remember the number. I think it is it close to $1 trillion
that we've sent.
Yeah.
No.
But it's still like 300.
That number's been thrown out there, but that number's not accurate. It's closer to $100 to $150 billion.
$150 billion.
Yeah, numbers been thrown out there as high as 300, but that is not accurate.
Okay.
And it's not actual dollars. It again is value of weapons being sent over, and again those are weapons that are older inventories that we have, and we're able to unload and replenish with better weapons. But the European Union has actually provided more resources to Ukraine than we have. Our resources we have the best weapon systems in the world, and so that's why we're so sought after.
Is there any kind of sanction that the United States can put on Russia that would cripple them financially?
I mean, there's things that we're doing that are already making life complicated for them, but it really is hard to go any further than what we're already doing.
So do you see an end to this?
No, the war has to be won.
The war has to be won.
Yeah.
Does Vladimir Putin have to die?
That's a question I don't know the answer to. Maybe. And I think that's why he lives in fear there and I think he lives a very secluded life because he is so fearful for anyone, even on his own team, taking him out. And I think there's good reason for that. There's probably a good chance he has to go. But again, that's not I'm not making that decision or that call.
He looked pretty healthy though, right?
I mean, for a guy in his 70s,
yeah,
in the position he's in, yeah. I mean, he seems to look okay, but I couldn't imagine wanting to live his life right now.
All right, we got to take a quick break. Can you stick around for a little bit longer? We got. I want to talk a little bit about immigration reform and our Central Valley farms. We're talking with Congressman David Valadao. Sunday Conversation. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sunday Conversation here on KMJ. I'm Alexander Balakian. My guest this week, Congressman David Valadao. So good to have you around. I want to talk a little bit about immigration reform or the lack thereof, right? First of all, where is immigration reform within the halls of the House?
It's slowly moving further up the food chain of things that people want to accomplish, and that's a positive I've seen because it's been talked about for years. It's something that both sides have members who want to accomplish some sort of immigration reform, and both sides struggle with their extremes, making it more and more complicated than it needs to be.
Can it be done during the Trump administration, or does Democrats see that as yet another victory for Trump, and we're gonna do everything we can to blockade it?
So both sides do that to one another. I mean, during Biden's administration, during Obama's administration, and during Trump's administration, both sides will use the excuse of, well, we don't want to give them a win. But I do believe there's opportunity. There's some Democrats I've been meeting with privately, and I don't know if they've made any public statements, who are very open to working on a deal and getting it done, and have actually said themselves that if there's ever a chance for us to get a lot of Republicans on, it's with Trump's leadership, because he's the one that can get Republicans to do a lot of things they normally wouldn't do.
You know, especially in your district, you have a lot of farm workers. What is the makeup of farm workers in your district? Do you have like a number on that?
Not on actual farm workers, but the district's 74% Hispanic, 70% Hispanic, and probably 30% foreign born. So immigration is a big deal in my district.
And just the fact that, did you feel a lot of your phones ringing off the hook, so to speak? Was there fear when all this ICE stuff started, and still to this day? Can you kind of gauge and give me an estimate of how your office was handling all that? We
were getting a lot of calls. The thing that made it more complicated was there was so much out on social media and so much in the news, and a lot of folks trying to make it, bring a lot of attention to it, but there was a lot of things out there that weren't accurate. And so one thing that we made a conscious effort of doing as an office was communicating with anyone we could in the family close to the situation. So if there was someone that was picked up in a video, we would try to get in touch with a relative, or if there was a workplace that was raided, we wanted to talk to the farmer themselves or the labor contractor to really understand what was going on, to make sure that we were advocating for something that we knew was going on.
So when it comes to a lot of these so-called ICE raids, or these implementation of, we're going to deport some folks, in your district alone, do you see a lot of that going on?
There's I-9 audits going on. We are hearing about stuff. It's not as much as what we've seen in other parts of the country. There are other states, for some reason, that seem to be hotbeds for these issues. But in the Central Valley, we know of a few. We've seen some videos out there. We've seen things, especially down in Kern County, where ICE agents were sitting outside of mini marts and other places that were frequently traveled by folks who work and potentially could be undocumented.
But do you feel being just undocumented is a crime? Is that a crime too?
I mean, by the letter of the law, it is.
Yeah.
Is it something that I think is a deportable offense? No. And that's what we're trying to resolve is. And that's where we get into a lot of this complicated conversations, because especially in especially in the U.S., where a lot of us in animal agriculture, we don't have a guest worker program that actually illegally allows us to have guest workers. And so they got rid of the Bracero program in the 60s. They've got the H-2A program. H-2A works for some, but anything that is not seasonal, we legally cannot use H-2A. And so we've created this world where we don't have a legal workforce, and we're looking to resolve that. And it seems like something that we're getting more and more understanding from people, but it's still one of those issues a lot of folks just don't understand. And the farms themselves and the farmers who own the farms, this is something where they feel like they got to throw a blanket over their entire acreage, because they don't want their workers going away, because ultimately what? The work doesn't get done. Yeah. Right? I mean, so has farm production gone down, you think? Even because you're a dairy farmer. So there's no statistics out there that I've seen to show that it has gone down, but do I have farmers telling me, I had some processing plants tell me that they would have 3-4 days where no one showed up to work, or a week that no one showed up to work. So we know production was affected. We know that I have farmers telling me, no, I had 2 or 3 employees disappear. They just left town. They didn't want to get in trouble. Yeah, I mean, disappeared. They went home, and they didn't want to get caught. They wanted to try to find a way to go through the legal process. But working with the administration is, they've got their processes for people to go back to their home countries. But my question to them is, how do we get people? How do we have that legal workforce? Where's that side of the equation? And that's something that we're struggling to get across the line.
And really, you talk about some of these folks that have been here for decades. I want to talk about one individual that has obviously been highlighted in the news cycle, if you will. The Pismo's restaurant manager, general manager, Salm Baypour. Have you heard about this story?
Met his wife and his dad.
You met with them?
I met Zoom. I was in D.C. when I had their conversation, but it was with his wife, and I believe it was his dad or father-in-law.
What came out of the conversation?
Well, I mean, we are going through the processes to try to be helpful. He is in the country illegally. He is married to an American citizen. He has the path forward. He's been working on his paperwork to get here and stay here legally. He is going to have a hearing. We hope that he is successful. But I would say I probably got more phone calls on that one specific case than any other case I've ever gotten a call on. I mean, he has apparently a lot of friends.
Well, I mean, a lot of people think he was arrested because he had committed a burglary back when he was 18 years old. Is that what ICE is looking into? Any little thing that they can find, an arrest record where, okay, well, arrest record, they don't have legal documentation, we can arrest them?
I don't know if they're looking. I mean, on his situation, I didn't ask how he was actually picked up or where he was found. But in the normal situation, I don't believe ICE is going out of their way to look for someone like that. The way it's been explained to us from ICE and from their counterparts in Washington is if they go onto a farm or they go somewhere, they're looking for someone specific and they're looking for real crimes. And even when I call those farmers to ask, hey, that raid that happened on your farm, was there a murderer there? Or was there a rapist there? What type of crimes are we talking? And most of them are visa overstays. And so we're trying to get some sort of path forward to help those who are just visa overstays or people who just don't have documentation to get right with the law. Is
there something that you physically can do, obviously to work with the administration directly, to say, hey, this gentleman, and I know I'm singling out Psalm Baypar here, but is there something that you can do physically that says, look, you just got the wrong guy here?
I mean, there's not a legal process to do much, but we are looking through all the avenues. Obviously, we're trying to advocate on his behalf with all the different agencies. Do we reach out to the White House or to the administration and say, hey, we've got some problems here? Yes, we do that on a regular basis. And we try to get, we have to obviously talk to the constituent, get whatever documentation to give us permission to speak on their behalf, to understand the issue, and for the government to communicate with us. Because I can't just call the government and say, hey, Alexon's a problem. I need you to, has a problem. Can you look into it? I have to have your permission on paper to go to them and say, I've got permission to speak on their behalf. And so we have to go through this whole entire process, and we do our best on as many cases as possible.
What's your gut telling you about it, though, right now, as you're diving into this process even more? What's your at least
on
for
immigration reform in general?
Well, about this specific case, and then immigration reform in general.
I think his specific case, I really believe he's going to be okay. Because he was going through the process. He is married to an American citizen. He's a productive citizen. He's actually, productive constituent here, not a citizen. But yeah, I do believe he's got a path forward. It's going to take some time to get through and this is one of the things we deal with is the court process, all the hearings. We don't have enough judges to process them. They do take a lot longer than they should.
I want to get real quick to the Central Valley farms and small family farms. You're a family farmer. Are they in danger of becoming extinct here in the Valley?
Yeah, that's been going on for a long time. And that's something that I always like to tell my friends on the left, all these regulations and all these things that make it complicated, the big guys have the resources. I mean, if you farm 10,000 acres or you milk 10,000 cows, any new regulation, you hire an engineer, you hire whatever to get through the processes that need to fill out the paperwork. You spread that across more backs. But if you're milking 1,000 cows or you're only farming 1,000 acres, it's a lot harder on you. And to hire that engineering firm to file those documentations or to do all the different processes that needs to meet the regulatory burdens, you're destroying the small farm. And they're the ones that feel the brunt of it because they're so focused on running their farms, they don't have an entire department tasked with government regulations. And they've got to hire outside firms, and it's burdens that most small farms can't handle. And those types of regulations make it even harder.
Water's one thing. We all know that.
Yep.
The water wars will go on forever and ever, I would imagine. But we're talking about foreign entities, foreign countries coming in and buying these small farms. And I know that California has put laws on the book in hopes to combat that a little bit. But it just seems like that's still going on, and it's going on silently.
Yeah. And it is something we've tried to address as far as the foreign entities part through legislation. One of the things that you're always going to struggle with on that front is for the government to know everything about every farm. To be able to combat that is going to allow the government access to a lot more information than most farmers are comfortable with. And if it's just a farmer getting investors to put some money behind him. That's going to be a tough one for us to really police. It's something we're obviously interested in, and we want to make sure that we're doing our best. But I think we're going to have to really watch the borders, watch the financial transactions as they cross our borders before they get to the actual purchase and they're in a farmer's hand or in someone's hand to actually go out and purchase the ground. And that is going to be a tough one for us to police, but it is one that Secretary of Ag, Congress, and many others are very focused on getting this done.
All right, I want to punctuate this, but I want to do a TMZ thing here for you. Oh, yeah, here we go. Real quick, how interested are you in the Epstein files? Like your TMZ thing.
I've spent very little time on it.
Very little time.
Yeah,
you don't read the headlines, you don't do nothing.
I mean, I see the stuff, but I've never really believed there was a real list. I've always thought it's probably folks that were on flight logs for being on his plane. Obviously, with what's come out, I'm concerned. I mean, obviously, we want to go after and prosecute any sort of pedophile out there. We want to make sure that, one, whatever information does get released doesn't affect the victims. We don't want to hurt the victims. No. And two, whatever gets released doesn't hurt the case against the perpetrators of any crimes. We want to make sure and that's what, from my understanding, is one of the big holdups to releasing more information is there's an active case going on and they want to address that. But aside from that, release as much as possible and get all the information out there and prosecute as many of those guys that did something wrong and put them in prison. You're a government employee. You have been for a long time. We all know what everybody makes. How in the world is Nancy Pelosi getting so rich? Should there be investigation on insider trading? Yeah, I mean, obviously, insider trading, absolutely. Yeah. One of my freshman colleagues that I went to Congress with Chris Collins from New York, went to prison, served very little time because he got pardoned. But he was. There are people who do it, and they shouldn't do it, and they should be prosecuted for it. Now, as far as trading stocks for members of Congress, I don't have a problem with the ban. I've never done it. I know for some folks it's a little more complicated because it's something they've always done. It's part of their retirements. But I have to imagine there's some middle ground that we can have some transparency but not allow for the type of things that you see. Because there are a lot of members who have done very well, and it just makes us all look bad. And
well, it smells like something is coming out very bad, right?
But, yeah, and obviously we've got enough problems. We shouldn't have to deal with that one. Yeah, I'd be fine with the ban. I'd be fine. I've never traded stock, so it's not my issue. But, man, some of the optics are horrible.
You're always gracious with your time. We appreciate it. We know your road to 2026 will be what year? You'll go into your...
It'll be, if I win, it'll be my 7th term.
7th term.
I'm old.
No. Hey, your counterpart here has got his new AARP card, so don't worry about it.
I'm not there yet.
We won't talk Social Security. I don't want to even know. Don't even tell me. David Valadao, he's your congressman. Appreciate the time, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
All right. We're back with more Sunday Conversation right after this. Finally, let's get social. And it just seems like the end of my shows lately have almost turned into obit sections. We lost another giant of our community. You know, this last weekend, Ray Appleton broke the heartbreaking news that Ron McCary passed away. Ron was 80 years old. I feel like I just said hello to him the other day in the hallway. You know, Ron, a man's man, a pro's pro. Ron was vibrant, a smile, and that soothing voice you always wanted around and to greet you when you walk through the halls of KMJ. Ron McCary always kept the mood light. You know, when I was hosting Dog Talk and the Fresno State pregame football shows with Steve Gonzalez and Paul Loeffler, he would always want to talk shop and to see if I thought the Dogs were going to win. You know, it's crazy to think that Ron and Ray Appleton actually first crossed paths in the radio biz in 1969 on KFIG. Then he went to KMPH, and then he went to KMJ finally. You know, Ron was Bulldog born, Bulldog bred. Proud grad of McLean High School and went on to teach in Fowler. One of his students now on air at Y101, AJ in the Morning. You know, as time passes, we only reflect when we hear news like this. Our busy lives take over trying to keep up with social media and the news cycle, whether it's real news or fake news. But Ron always made it seemingly have time stand still, live in the moment, be steady, show up. be present, offer your best, even when you feel your worst. Ron was the kind of guy you wanted to confide in, ask for his guidance. These days, those folks are far and few between, and sometimes we take that for granted. So, a salute to Ron McCary, a voice that drove along with us, a voice that is now in our memories. So a friendly reminder, cherish what you have today, because it may be gone tomorrow. And that's my time. And that's Sunday Conversation.